Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag, your weekly podcast reviewing games from the Game Pass collection. Bring you three unique perspectives and varying skill range. I am the groundskeeper of this episode, Andrew. With me, the one who's stuck in the closet, Keith.
Hello.
And the one who keeps getting the front door of his locks on his front door constantly changed on him, Aaron.
That is a horrible intro.
Thank you. I know.
You really tripped up over that. So, but thank you. Thank you for having me again.
This week, we played Blueprints. That's Prince. I know it sounds like Blueprints, which Keith, if you listened to our last week's episode, Keith just realized the name of the game.
I don't think we said that on the episode. I think it was
I
said.
think it was right after recording.
It might have been.
It was after recording, but yes. It was like you said the words and it like you could see it like Keith was just like, oh my goodness, I get it now. So congratulations. I did think it was a weird title for a game, but it is kind of one of those, like you say it out loud and then you see the game and you're like, oh, Blueprints. I get it now.
Well, it also ties in with the story.
Well, I kind of assumed that would also tie it into the story. That would
sure. But do you think that was like actually the first part of it? I mean, I assumed it was actually the title more than anything. But I'm sorry, the concept of the game, which is you messing with blueprints.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, I don't know either.
Anyway,
could be debated for years.
Blueprints is a first-person puzzle game / kind of escape room where you are playing a young nephew who's inherited their dead grandfather's mansion. Haven't heard this plot point before.
Right.
But something's off about this mansion. This mansion every day keeps shifting its rooms. So what you thought was a closet one day might be a bedroom the next day, or it might be a workout room. But you are trying to essentially get to the elusive room 46, because you notice in the house that there's only 45 rooms. But your grandfather hints that there is a 46 room that no one has been able to find. And so in order for you to claim your inheritance, you must find the elusive 46th room. But going around, whether this is a gamer pass, and I guess you should say, if you are really heavy in not wanting any spoilers, I would recommend just listen to the gamer pass segment. But we obviously do well not to talk about spoilers, but we're obviously going to be talking about some puzzles, maybe not quite the solutions, but if you want to avoid everything, just be warned. And maybe after the episode, we might actually do a little bit more heavier spoilers because I kind of want to get your guys' perspectives on some things. But anyway, for me, Blueprints, this was a definite game. I had a lot of fun with this. So this is, of course, a puzzle game. And a lot of people are talking this game already to be possible Game of the Year material, that this is one of those puzzle games that are, genre defying. And like, this will be remembered throughout the ages of how clever and everything it was. And honestly, I kind of got to agree. It's what I loved about Blueprints was that like I said, the main goal is for you to get to room 46. And I did that. I rolled credits, but I am far from complete with this game. There are numerous puzzles, a lot you don't have to solve, a lot you can, and then I'm still finding new puzzles to figure out. So this is a game where I don't think you need to have this crazy smart, complex mind to figure out all these puzzles. Because a lot of people can compare this like Talos Principle. That game I remember playing after a while, it got so incredibly hard that I'm like, I can't do this anymore. With Blueprints, in order to roll credits, I felt like it was fairly easy. But to actually get a lot of the puzzles, they're very clever and unique and a ton of fun to figure out. This game, it took me a while to get into. It was a little bit of a slow start, but once I really started to understand the game, I loved it. Definite game.
It is a game. And it's funny that you say you took a little bit to get into it, because I think in a sense, I've started to do a little bit of the reverse on this. Like when I picked this, I was like, I love this idea. I love everything about it. And I really still love it conceptually. I am at a point though, where I'm starting to get really frustrated with it. And, it's weird to say because it's it's like all roguelikes. They're pretty heavily RNG based, but there's something about this gameplay that feels like completely uncontrollable RNG that's kind of just annoying me a little bit. But I'll get into all that a little more, I guess. But overall, yeah, I even think I'd still probably put it into that. I don't know. I'm not gonna put the definite on there yet. I'm just gonna call it a game for now.
Although it pains me to say it, I gotta say this is a pass for me. Now, hold on. Let's keep in mind here, right? The whole point of this podcast is that it's varying skill ranges, right? So Andrew probably plays the most video games. Keith is probably a very close second, and I am a much further distant third. I just do not gravitate towards these types of games. Now, I went into this game very excited to try it out. And as we go through this and discuss this, I'm kind of glad that I already gave the disclaimer it's probably unavoidable. You're going to have to talk about spoilers to really talk about this game, because I've got some serious questions. I've got some serious questions about how this game plays out and where my frustration points were. And one of them, my key point as to why this game very much frustrated me, is one that I've mentioned on multiple games recently. Not in a row, but there seems to be this common theme in video games that is really starting to tick me off. And I will admit, before we even get there, I sound like an old man shaking his fists at the clouds. That's what I'm going to sound like. I understand that. So you need to understand that my criticism is coming from the place of me just being probably really old and not understanding modern video game design. And it's just bothering me a lot. So this has to be a pass, though, for me, for those reasons, which we will get to.
All right. Well, yeah, I was going to ask you, do you play any puzzle games, Aaron? Because obviously
No.
Liz was the one who didn't like puzzle games in this podcast.
So I really
take
am.
Liz's place.
I am taking her place pretty quickly. Here's the funny thing is I actually don't hate puzzles. I like them when they like, let's take, for instance, okay, here's like a good example. Here's a good example of a game that has puzzles in it that I actually really kind of enjoy. The Tomb Raider games. You would have those puzzle tombs that you would go into. They were very simple. It was very easy to see what your objective was, and it was very easy to kind of map out what you needed to do to accomplish it. It was just challenging enough that you might have to toy with some things to kind of figure out what you need, but you could get there. Indiana Jones, also, great example. Very simple to understand what your objective was. It may be some trial and error, but you could get there. This is a whole nother level. This
Puzzles,
is a
not
whole
puzzle
nother
games.
thing for me. No, those aren't puzzle games. Those are games that have puzzles in them.
That's what I'm saying.
And
You like puzzles, not puzzle games, is what I'm saying.
even
puzzles
even
and
in
games are
Indiana
good.
Jones, even in Indiana Jones, when you got to, I know we're not doing Indiana Jones here, but that kind of one big one before you get out of the Vatican, so that first level, and it's like that big moving statue portrait thing. So it had multiple sides to it. So it's kind of tricky. It's kind of complicated, but I like that. I had fun with that. This is a totally different level for me. But so yes, caveat throughout all of this. If you're sitting here going, what is wrong with this guy? Understand that that's where I'm
Screaming
coming
at
from
Aaron
here.
right now.
Yeah, I imagine some people will roast me for it, and that's totally fine. But again, that's where I'm coming from.
All right. So the story of Blueprints, as I talked about, you were playing, this grandson who, your grandfather just passed. So he's
Great
like,
nephew, actually.
oh, that's right. The family system dynamic is a little odd. It's part of the puzzles. It's
It's always
dynamic.
the uncle, never the grandfather.
Also, Andrew, is this in Mississippi?
Maybe. No, it's in some European country with conflict.
You should probably just name it. Just name it. Say it's in Luxembourg.
Oh, Luxembourg.
Actually, no. I think
mountainous.
it's Fenares. There's 3 regions.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, you
That's
try to
not a real
booyah at me,
place.
but they're actually his names for countries here.
you're right. I tried to give you a South of Midnight booyah there, but go ahead.
But yeah, so you're playing, the great nephew, right? Was that what is Keith?
Yeah.
Whatever.
I
But yeah,
don't
you're
know what
inheriting
the
this
nephew
house.
is.
It's like the one thing I know about the story that Andrew doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're trying to figure out, what is going on with this mansion. It's been apparently passed down by generations to generations. And you are, like I said, trying to get to room 46, because that is the one stipulation that is part of this whole situation, is that you need to get a room 46. I guess there's rules. You can't take anything off of the premise, and you can't bring anything on the premise. So every time you are starting a new day, the rooms are completely reset, and the only room you're given is obviously the main entranceway, and you got to keep building out the rooms to try to get to room 46, which you can also see is part of an antechamber at the way top of the map. But the question is, how do you open it? And of course, as Aaron was trying to boot at me, there is a whole other slew story here. Did you guys get any of the side story going on? Did you even know there was a side story going on?
Yes and no. So I said this in our Discord, and this is where I'm kind of on the fence, at least for me, as far as it being like definite game versus game, is that like you take a Balatro, a Brotato, Slay the Spire, so many of these different roguelikes. This is obviously its very own character. It's a roguelike puzzle. Like it's not a card builder, or it's not a deck builder. It's not an action, whatever. But it's like a roguelike of Tunic is kind of how I'm picturing this. It's like this. It's hundreds of these tiny little puzzles that you're trying to solve, but you don't realize you're solving, or even like. So going back to what I said in the Discord that I didn't actually say here is that I don't know what puzzles I'm supposed to even be solving. And that really kind of lies into my very first, like, sort of a gripe, but it's like, it's not, because it really is the purpose of the game. And it's so hard for me to have a feeling on it, but I'm annoyed because I'm like, I can tell that looks like it's a puzzle, but where do I even solve it? I can't interact with it. I'm just looking at it. And I'm trying to interpret a puzzle that I might run across later.
I'm 100% with you, Keith. This is what I at first was like not liking this game, because I felt like every time I was putting a room down, I'm like, is this a puzzle? Am I supposed to figure out something in this room? What am I doing? Like, I got to figure this out. This is going to be my first pro tip for anybody. Just get to room 46. You know, it's part of the antechamber. And I know you're going to be going to some rooms and there's puzzles, but honestly, 90% of them you don't have to solve. You just got to find some of the notes that explain how to maybe possibly open that antechamber and figure out that next step. Because there is a ton of puzzles in these rooms. Some are very, inconspicuous. Some are very apparent. But honestly, a lot of them are side.
So, again, I don't want to. I've got plenty of comments there, but I don't want to get there yet because we're still in the story. So, story-wise, the story is very intriguing to me. It actually does a pretty good job of setting it up and presenting a very easy mystery where you're like, okay, I'm interested in this narrative, this idea that I can leave this house and everything resets and I'm trying to get to the objective. All of that stuff is pretty interesting and intriguing. I did not pick up on any of the side story. Now, this is pertinent to the story, but as you're going through some of these rooms, you will see plenty of stuff that alludes to something else going on. And in fact, there is one room in particular. It's one of the first kind of like major rooms that you run into. I call it a major room just because the music changes and there's a cutscene for it. And that's the security room, where it immediately makes you think, oh, something else is happening in this story right here. And it's trying to signal that to me, that something else is happening here. I don't know. I never got to the point where I figured that out, but at least its initial premise is interesting. And I do like the fact that there is some hidden side story here. I just don't know what it was. I wasn't picking up on any of that. I was trying to figure it out, but I have no clue what it was.
I mean, did you guys, this is kind of a weird thing. Did you guys kind of get the vibe? It almost felt a little bit like a horror game.
Oh, for sure.
The cutscenes were so dramatic in the way the voice acting was. I was like,
and
is something hunting me?
For unexplained reasons?
Yeah.
So I know I'm really kind of skipping ahead here, but again, kind of related to what you're talking about here. Kind of sticking with when you're going into the security room, it is very dramatic.
Yeah.
And the music is awesome. The music in this game, by the way, is awesome. Again, we haven't gotten there yet. But in that scene in particular, as it really stuck out to me as like, ooh, I'm into this. because I'm like, why is this so moody? What is this so dramatic? And I'm watching it, expecting something to happen, and nothing really happens. So it feels like it does a lot of that, where it goes into this cutscene, and you're like, oh, what's happened? What's happened? What's the big reveal here? And it's nothing. It's just like you getting into a boat, and you're like, oh, okay. There's a whole lot of that in this game, but again, it is intriguing. It adds to this element of, well, what is happening? What is happening? And that part is cool, even if I never did actually figure out what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you didn't unlock the Rumpus room.
Yeah, I got that. I actually got that.
You get a fortune teller. Yeah, okay.
So where you're going with, yeah, there is one of them that it's a little creepy. It's a little thing. It's like something about you being watched or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. That was the cutscene. Yeah, I was talking about where it's like you're terrified now. And I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah. It was like, what was it? He goes, what does he say? He's like, a once brave boy, now afraid. And I was like, Jesus, what am I afraid of? I don't even know what I'm afraid of. Because but it also does it's such a weird setup, in that overall you don't see your character. You only ever see your character in these small little snippets of it, and that's what makes it creepy. Is the only time you ever see your character, it's as though you're being watched, and you're watching it from the eyes of who's watching you. You never see them in like a mirror or like a zoom out where you're just interacting with it. It's always something else watching you when you see yourself. And even like when you're in the security room, you can like move around and see yourself on the cameras. There's nothing weird about that. You can always see yourself on a camera, obviously, but it's like there's just something about the atmosphere of it that I'm like, this is kind of creepy. Like watching myself move.
As a add to this, speaking of seeing yourself, and with the story, when you do see yourself and how you're dressed, but then the technology that's used in this house, what time period does this take place in?
93. I think.
Oh yeah.
It's 93.
Okay.
I think.
But does your character look like they're from 1993? You look like you're from 1920.
I mean, you just kind of look like you're like.
Well, there's a reason, Aaron.
Okay. All right.
Because you're the blueprints.
But what does it have to do with the time period?
I mean, I don't want to say things. Spoil stuff.
Okay, so yeah, maybe again, there's probably a lot of stuff that I've missed here. Okay, fine. There's an explanation to it. I don't know what that explanation is. That's totally fine.
I mean, it's kind of heavily hinted with the name of the game that maybe you're royalty.
Well, yes, and obviously,
is it though?
I read the book about the Red Prince.
So that's what I was gonna say. It's like, does it? I mean, I don't know. You know more than I do, Andrew, and I feel like you're like hiding things, but not hiding things. And I'm like, I didn't think I was royalty because it's called Blueprints. I thought it had to do with your mother, who wrote children's books and wrote a book dedicated to you. Well, at least called one of them called Red Prince. And then there's also the Swimbird one, which I think is also about you. And I'm assuming they also tie into each other, but that's a whole different conversation, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say, because I don't want to say much.
That's totally fair. And so again, if you were somebody listening to this right now, you might be hearing Andrew's obviously figured something out that neither Keith nor myself have figured out.
Well, I've been figuring out a bunch because I was Googling and I was on Reddit and people's theories and stuff going on.
Okay.
Because obviously I haven't completed all the puzzles and there's a lot going on, but I've gotten a good amount of snippets of what's happening in the actual world of this game. That's like, oh, okay. I get that.
So I don't know if this is necessarily related to story, but the other day when I was playing it, I got into one room and I want to say I picked up a note that specifically suggested that you, the player, grab a notepad and pen and paper.
Highly recommend that.
Okay. So again, when I see that, considering what I had done up to that point, I was that was to me where I was kind of done. Where I was like, how did I get this far? And now I'm getting told to get a pen and paper. And going back to kind of what Keith said, for what? What am I gathering here? What does that mean? How did I make it this far? And now you're saying, hey, you should grab a pen and paper. Hey, why not tell me at the beginning of this game? And why not give me a little bit more idea of what I'm writing down here? What should I be writing down? I don't know.
Well, you know what's weird about that though is I think it was like my very first day that I ran across and it told me to, like, I found the room that told me to grab a pen and paper. So like you might have found it further in, but you don't have to find it further in. And I mean, to that matter, you can beat this game in day one. Like
Yeah,
you
there's an
don't
achievement.
have. So that's the thing that sort of, I think it's like a very weird thing for my head to wrap my head around, because I can see that it's this big grand game. And so I'm trying to picture it in this big grand vision, but then I keep forgetting that really there's one simple end goal to, at least I think, probably actually unlock a lot of those other secrets. Like probably a lot of those other secrets start to make sense, because just getting to that end game or that antechamber, you're gonna use up a lot of rooms that are most likely gonna help you open these puzzles, I guess. Because like I would say even in my last 2 or 3 days, I've had a few things where I've had like little light bulb moments, but I'm still so stinking lost.
All right, so let's, because you don't want to spoil the story, which I think is totally fair. Don't spoil the story. Let's just switch into gameplay. Just because that's all we really should say about story. It's interesting. It's intriguing. There's obviously layers to it. Go check out Reddit.
Yeah, it's a good wrap up. Yeah, but as I was saying, though, get into the gameplay. As I've said before, you know, there's normally 45 rooms. You have a map. You can look. It's all these empty squares. Every room obviously is like a 4x4 kind of room size square. But anytime you go to open a door, sometimes it's locked, sometimes it's not. But most of the time it's unlocked, especially depending how close you are to the main entrance. The house is broken up into ranks, 1 through 9. The farther in rank you go, the higher chance the puzzles will be harder. Doors will be locked. There'll be more challenges. But anytime you're opening up a door, it gives you a set of 3 different rooms that you can pick from. Some rooms are dead ends, so you may be opening up into a closet, which may give you some items, but that ends your path there. Or sometimes it'll be 2 doors, 3 doors, 4. Like it'll just kind of open up. The rooms are very random. It's a draft pool that you have. So this is where the roguelike element kind of goes, is as you're exploring, sometimes you unlock hidden rooms. Sometimes, you know, you can find, you know, do a special puzzle. Hey, congratulations, you unlocked the planetarium. This is a hidden room you can now play. Sometimes you can double up on some rooms. But either way, as you're more playing this game, which is keeping track of how many days you're doing, you're adding more and more rooms to your pool, which will hopefully help you, as I said, get to room 46. But that's kind of the gameplay. Rinse and repeat. Every once in a while, though, there are a handful of things you do that will carry over. Like there's an orchard. If you unlock the orchard, you get extra steps, because that's the other thing. You can't stay in this house forever. Every time you enter a room or go back, so if you go in and out of the same room over and over again, you have a step counter. And once it hits 0, it forces you to end your day. You're too tired. You must go to rest. But you can obviously eat food, gain more steps, get gems to unlock more rooms, so on and so forth. It is very much a roguelike puzzle, which is a very interesting and unique style. But going back real quick to Aaron's asking about the notepad, I will say in order to get to room 46, you do not need a notepad. Any of the puzzles you're seeing that may require you to write stuff down is more than likely a side puzzle. Because this is what I liked about this game. And I said, it's not, to me, I didn't think it was too hard to figure out how to get to room 46. But once you get to room 46, you get a whole checklist of these are achievements and trophies you can do. Try to do these things. And that's when it's like, oh boy, this is where the puzzles are really hard and interesting and challenging. But anyway, go Aaron. What's your complaints about the gameplay here?
Oh boy. All right. So, right. Seems like a very simple premise. You walk into this house and it lays out the rules for you. Very simple rules. Andy went over them. Get to the antechamber. That's basically it. How do you get there?
Great question.
That is my first issue. That is my first issue, is those rules to me are not actually entirely clear. So what is that? That's the antechamber is room 46, correct?
No, antechamber is room 45.
Okay, so it's room 45. So it
all right,
tells
so
you.
Oh, if you're on Spotify, you can see our video, but I'm putting a picture of the map. This is the one I almost completely filled the house. Kind of hurt a little bit. But if you want to see what we're talking about, you could look at the video.
So Spotify or YouTube. So Andrew, you've already, okay. So actually you do prove it here. Actually, here's my initial issue, and this is where I was getting screwed up from the very beginning, right? So he says, there are 44 rooms. You need to find my 45th room.
46.
I was immediately or 46, whatever. Shut up.
Hey, you coming at me about saying Mississippi. I'm coming about you not counting, Aaron.
My issue is I was under the impression I had to open every single room here to get to the antechamber. Every single square had to be filled. Well, clearly on your map here, you left one open. I did not know this until much later that you didn't. So imagine my frustration when I'm going through and I immediately paint myself into a corner because I can't control what 3 rooms will be drafted. Great. I'll just end my day. I'm ending my day. Even though I clearly had more spaces to go, I was not under that impression. My impression was I got to fill up every one of these squares. So I got to make sure I'm leaving enough spaces open so that I'm doing that. That immediately, I didn't know I was doing that wrong. How was I
like
ever
choking on your
supposed
rage?
to know that? Well, this is my modern gaming issue. I had the same issue with Two Crowns, where it just chooses to never explain anything to you. It gives you minuscule information and just says, go have fun. No, that's not fun. That's not fun for me. I wasted time thinking I have to hit every single one of these squares, and it was never true. How was I ever supposed to know that? I would have played this game for an eternity and probably never gone to that antechamber. When come to find out, I could have gone there the whole time. So I got into watching some speedrunning. Just to kind of explain, I got into watching some speedrunning because I was kind of curious. What's the fastest anybody's ever gotten through this? Because obviously, like Andrew said, you can get an achievement to complete it in day 1. So I was like, has anybody done this yet? Like, this has to be impossible because in my
0.05
head,
it's at right now. For the
in my head,
0.05.
Yeah. So I've watched a few. I've watched a few speedrunners, but in my head, you have to hit every one of these squares. That's impossible. You cannot do that. That is just because you can't control the 3 rooms you're going to have to draft. You just don't know if it's possible to do it. And come to find out, these guys are completing it and they're leaving like 5 squares open. And I'm like, what? How? That was never in the rules. That was never explained. And so,
but it never says you have to either. That's where
But when he says,
but it never tells you have
when
to.
he says there are 45 rooms in my house, you need to find the 46th. It kind of implies you need to see the 45 to see the 46. So this is my issue. So that immediately really grinds my gears a little bit with this game. I kind of like the vagueness, but you should be at least explicit. You don't need to see all 45 rooms. There just could potentially be 45 rooms. That's just immediately ticked off. I also have a hard time calling this a roguelike, but
I completely immediately understood it differently. Like I don't like I got it as it was, but at the same time I kind of did they're like just looking at the setup of the game, I guess is where I kind of got it. Well, one is because I looked at the achievements and when I saw that there was one to do it in the first day, I guess I kind of just assumed that like you didn't need everything to get there, if that makes sense. I was like, well, obviously there's going to be things like the puzzle isn't just built in one day, even though I can get to that room. But like, I'm trying to think like how it just, I don't know. To me, I thought it does a pretty good job describing like there are 46 like rooms styles, I guess, designs or I don't know. I didn't run into that. Now, my gut instinct on every run is still to try to do that. And I think that that's sort of your best strategy is to try to fill out every room to the best of your ability because you're just maximizing, resources, you're maximizing all of the things. But this is still my biggest gripe is what you were saying, Aaron, is about the locked in 3 choices. And it's great. Like it makes sense for the style, but the amount of times I just get painted into a corner within the first 3 rows of the stinking house because all it did was give me a bunch of crap rooms. I'm like, well, what can I do? What can I like? Immediately you're giving me locked doors and key cards when I didn't even have a time to gather any of these things to begin with. And well, now I'm stuck. So I just restart and it was just a waste of a day. that's my only real gripe. And you're also wrong. It is roguelike.
I'm with you. It's actually a roguelike.
Like it actually describes itself as one, but it's.
I understand it.
Obviously, it's
I
not
understand
permadeath because you're the same character living every day over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day more than anything, where you're just solving all of these puzzles, and there's meta progression. It has all of the things that would make for your procedural generation because you're randomizing your rooms every single one. You never have the same house setup ever.
I think the key to a roguelike is the meta progression. I think the meta progression is paper thin. Like Andrew said, if you get an orchard, it gives you more steps. Okay.
Those 20 steps
what
are
else?
Huge.
Okay. Every other thing I pick up, guess what? It's gone. Unless I get lucky and get a place where I can check my item and pick it up later. That also resets. Everything resets. So even your meta progression is barely there. Unless you get a couple things, that's the only thing that follows with you. To me, the key to a roguelike, I understand the reset, yeah, 100%. The RNG, 100%. The meta progression, nah. I don't care what you say. You might add a couple things in there, but it is minuscule. Oh, okay, fine. Maybe there's something, again, that I never got to because this game didn't explain it.
Right here on my map, outer room. This thing is very powerful.
The outer room is nice. I just got
allowance
probably in the last couple of days. I just started reaching allowance. Allowance is a nice thing to have.
Yep.
So like there is. It's hard. It's hard because in all of these other more quote unquote traditional roguelikes, you can see the meta progression. You have whether it's Brotato, you can see, okay, these are all the characters that I have to unlock, and I have to do it by beating these things or completing these tasks. You have, Slay the Spire.
I wouldn't say that was a roguelike.
Because
you're really resetting every single time.
Maybe that's more like a roguelite, actually, then I guess. But there's still some meta progression into that. Light and like, there is a difference. But
we're always debating this.
I do love. We argue over genre every week.
Like is about the meta progression. That is the biggest key takeaway from every time I read it. So light doesn't have necessarily the meta progression because really outside of unlocking new characters, there's no meta progression. The same like Brotato, but it's
the die repeat.
Die repeat. That's where like the rogue aspect comes into.
That's
it.
fair.
And then so you have like Balatro. That's more of the rogue like, or Slay the Spire, or those deck builders are Monster Train. Those are built on meta progression of like adding new cards, adding new skills, adding new things. That's exactly what this is doing. Those rooms, those 20 extra steps, huge. I don't know how much allowance you work your way up to because right now I only get 2 coins per day.
I'm at 16.
Okay, so 16 coins. That's a huge difference maker. 16 coins per day. That outer room adds all kinds of different things. Like there, you can add a room that negates red rooms. You can add one that I haven't figured out.
Adds classrooms to your draft board. Adds special items to you.
The bunker is one of them, but because that bunker, it also something you can do to trigger it. It triggers that you never have another locked door in the room for that day. Like there really is. It's just not in front of your face. Except for, I don't know, Andrew was saying that once you reach 46 the first time, then I guess you kind of see a little bit more, but there's no like checklist outside of like, okay, you see these outer rooms, but there's so many minor non-displayed meta progression because then you have the upgrade discs too. The upgrade discs upgrade your rooms. So like my Nook, which always gives a coin or a key, now every time I open up the Nook, I always have the library drafted off of it. So I can guarantee that I get the library every single one. But
I changed my Nook to give me 2 keys.
I thought about that. But I wanted to do I went for the guaranteed room partially because I'm like, I want the library, but I feel like I never get it. Now I always have it.
Does that disc follow you to the next day?
Yep.
Yes. You upgrade that room as a meta progression of that room.
Then I will rescind my argument that could be just the fact that I just never got to that point because I was spending all this time trying to fill each square. Well, no.
You admitted defeat. You did it.
I am going to admit defeat. I will admit defeat that there is more meta progression than I'm giving it credit for. But I'm still going to blame the game for this because I'm so busy wasting my time filling all these dang slats at the bottom. Can I ask you one more question, Andrew? Andrew, you are going back to your map. Actually, this is another thing I've got an issue with, but the game seems to highlight it on your map. What does it matter how many green rooms I have, how many bedrooms I have, how many red rooms I have? It almost makes it seem like I'm supposed to have a certain amount of those to get to the end. So it seems to highlight those things. What obviously the red rooms seem to have negatives. So you want less red rooms, but
yeah, the color of the rooms.
What am I seeing here?
There's no, like, the colors of the rooms are just descriptions. So purple rooms, if it's purple, it is a bedroom. Now, if you see the center of my map here, there's the mage chamber. It's mostly red, but in the corner of it, it's purple. So therefore, it's a red room and a purple room. Same with the aquarium. The aquarium has all the colors. It is considered all the things. But the significance of it is more just, once again, playing with the meta progression. You get some items right here in the patio. I don't know if you see in the kind of the upper right area. It says all green rooms will get gems in them. So if I was building a lot of green rooms, I'm like, oh, that's a good room because I'm going to get a bunch of gems now. I'll have to go around the house and collect them, but that's a pretty good room. So it's a way to kind of build out your deck. And then as far as like the name of so this run ended, it told me I have 4 green rooms and 7 bedrooms. Those were the most prominent rooms I had. So it kind of gives you a fun name for your day for what your house is. So this one was the garden
because of the bedrooms, right?
Yep.
And then the garden because of that.
Yeah, I'll pull up another because I posted a couple pictures of my progress.
You don't need a minimum of them. You don't need any of that. And again, this is stuff I was picking up on the fact that certain rooms were doing certain things. Like I was picking up on that. But the whole time I'm wondering in the back of my head, like, wait, do I need a certain number of them? Does if I use up all my green rooms pretty early on, will I not get another one later? Is that what the problem is?
You have to unlock that. There's some rooms that have duplicates, but most rooms do not have duplicates. So the previous house, I had a room that let me duplicate a couple of the rooms. So that's why I have duplicate storage rooms. But here in this one, I only have one storage room because that's normally in your deck. You only have one storeroom. So this one, I had 6 red rooms. So they changed its name to the Red Manor of Fire and Ice because I also had the furnace and the freezer. So they're just kind of fun names, like depending what you're playing as to what your run's going to be called. But I wanted to ask you, so how far did you get, Aaron? Like what day? Do you know?
6, maybe 6 or 7.
All right.
And then I realized I'm doing the same thing every single time. And that's where I was like, Oh, by the way, I did 2 different runs. So I did one on PC and then I did one on Xbox. Like I just went and ran 2 separate ones.
All right.
So I think maybe one of them I got to like day 7. I think the other one I got to like day 4 or 5.
So this could be another pro tip I have for listeners here if you haven't played this game. When in doubt, if you think you could probably lose your run, which more than likely you will, especially if you're playing early, always pick rooms you have never been to before because you will avoid issues that Aaron's apparently having here. Because I was with you, Aaron. I was feeling the same way where I'm like, I thought I had to fill everything out. And because of that, I kept getting dead-ended a lot and I'd lose my run. And I'm like, I don't get what's going on.
How did you know? How did you know you didn't need to fill out every room?
Because I read a note. Oh, yeah, it's in the library, I think. There's a book that gives you strategy of like, how to possibly build your house. And that was one of the tips was, when in doubt, pick a room you've never been to. So I did that. So I was like, I'm probably going to lose this run. I'm going to pick this room. I've never seen this room before. And I got a note. The note literally said, the 46th room is tied to the antechamber. The question is, how do you open the antechamber? So that's when I knew, that's what I got to do is just get to the antechamber. And then eventually, I think it was one of the green rooms, someone wrote, or I found a lever that showed the antechamber. And I was like, oh, okay, but I need to fix this lever. And so like, that's all you kind of have to figure out is how to get to the antechamber and how to open it. But the game does tell you. And I do think it's funny that you're complaining this is about modern gaming. I feel like most people complain modern gaming is too handholdy and you're complaining.
No, that is true too.
I guess it's modern indie games. You could
it is. It's where they're getting more creative. And I'll fully admit this is a creative game. And I would imagine most people listening to this are going to side with Andrew and Keith on this one. And you're probably right. Because this is probably the type of stuff that I think kind of jives with a lot of people. For me, again, it just became more frustrating. And I don't need yellow paint splashed on everything. I know that that's kind of the gaming thing of just splash yellow paint on it, and that's where you know you need to go. And I don't necessarily need that. But at least reveal yourself a little bit more, because there were just a lot of moments like this throughout this game that going back to a little bit to what I just talked about, the speedrunning aspect of it, because I kind of went down a rabbit trail there where I was kind of interested in that, because this seems like an interesting game to speedrun because it's so RNG heavy. You cannot control the rooms that you're going to be presenting with. And one of the guys that I watched yesterday, I think he completed it like just under 20 minutes, or maybe it was around 20 minutes. Jeez. And he literally by a miracle did it. He got to a room again I had never seen. It was the dark room.
Yep, it's a red room. Yeah.
Yeah. So he goes to the dark room, and one of those things is you cannot see the room you're drafting. It presents three black squares, and you click one. It was literally the last possible room he could get the pump room.
Oh.
And that he needed that to go on.
To open the fountain and go. Oh, sorry. That's
he got wildly lucky. Another thing that I noticed, so I watched another speedrunner. So Andrew, going back, you don't have to pull up your map again. I'll just reference it. You talk about that outside room. So one guy I watched speedrun, he would literally walk out to the outside, try and draft something there. If he didn't get what he wanted, he'd literally reset his day. We'll go back out there, try it again, reset his day, go out there, reset his day. And he just kept doing it, where this one guy did it in one day, under 20 minutes. And it seems like everybody wants, and I thought it was necessary. Watching what he was doing, you have the shed out there. He had the tomb.
Yeah, the tomb is how I won the game, I will say.
So why do you have a shed there?
Because that was a different run.
That outer room always changes. It treats it like a normal room. So you go to the door, you open it, and it gives you the 3 rooms. So
I figured that, but I didn't know you could win the game without the tomb.
You can. There are multiple routes. So in this one that I had here, so as you see, I ended on day 32. I actually beat this game on day 24. So this is me already beating the game. This was me trying to go for the achievement where you fill the entire house, because that's an achievement to fill the house. But I was just 1 square short, which kind of killed me. But because once you beat the game, and I'll also mention too, as we're saying, there's an achievement to beat the game in day 1. You don't start a new profile. When you beat the game, you unlock a special room called the shop, and you can unlock these challenge modes. And one of those challenge modes is to play day 1. Because that was my confusion too, where I'm like, well, do I just start a new game after do it?
How that worked.
Yeah, but no, there's actually a challenge mode when you go to the shop after you beat the game, after you get to room 46. But the tomb is very helpful.
Okay.
I will say.
So this okay. So I thought it was necessary. So when I'm seeing your map, I was like, oh, well, he's got a tool shed on here. That guy didn't have a tool shed. It seemed to be both guys, or the 3 or 4 that I was watching, they all wanted the tomb. That's what they were trying to bank on, was getting a tomb there, which again, RNG, you have no clue what you're going to get. So that's kind of the fun part of it. Can we talk? All right. Still sticking with gameplay here. Talk to me about some of these puzzles.
Okay.
One of these puzzles in particular, I love. The
parlor?
Yes, parlor was my favorite.
That one's a fun one.
That logic puzzle is kind of a classic puzzle. I love that it actually changes.
Yeah.
So what's written on the 3 boxes changes every time. That one I loved.
Explain the puzzle.
So the puzzle's very simple. Again, very clear. It's 3 boxes. The instructions are one box is always lying to you. 1 is always telling you the truth. That's at least the minimum to it. Hey, what's going on, Corey? So there are one's lying to you, one's telling the truth at least. So that's the minimum there. I like that. I thought that was kind of fun. It's a nice little logic puzzle. I love it. Did not care for the just because it's a simple math puzzle and it's not very interesting.
Oh no, it does not stay simple.
Does it?
You're talking about the not the parlor, the game room,
like the game room, yeah, with the dartboard.
Yes. Yeah, no, that does not say simple. It gets
okay.
I mean, how much harder does it get though? Because
it's very hard.
Because I've gotten to
prove it.
I'm trying to think how to say it without giving away the puzzle, because I don't know. I've had it where the order of operations changes, if that makes sense, and at least one additional where it incorporates the bullseye. I don't know how much harder it gets than that.
There's more symbols that incorporate the bullseye. You got to start squaring some of your numbers, and then sometimes reversing your numbers.
So square root then.
Yes, but then reversing it. So if it's a 14, you got to change it to a 41. Yeah, it gets crazy complex.
But
yeah,
even that, it's like one of those things that I feel like once you start to do it, is like right now I've done 20 of them, so I'm just getting into like the squaring numbers and stuff. And that took me a little bit to figure out what it wanted me, like how it wanted me to do it. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I thought it was, I like it because it ends up being pretty simple arithmetic. And like math I can do in my head is like a weird nerdy thing that I get really excited about. So I'm just like, ooh, I like this. And it's not overly complicated. I just know that I can do that one. But I agree. The parlor puzzles are easily my favorite ones. I just think they're really interesting. I think I've failed 2 of them.
Did you guys find the solution to the board game puzzle, like the math one?
What do you mean the book?
This is what I like. This is one thing that I thought it's super cool about this game. You get the magnifying glass, and there's a letter you get, and in the very corner of the letter you see a dartboard. But unless you have the magnifying glass, you can zoom in, and it literally says these are the colors to add, subtract, multiply, divide, and do it in this order. Like it literally explains the puzzle on that thing, but only if you have the magnifying glass and only if you find that thing. So this is what I love about this game. This game literally is a sandbox. You're literally or Aaron, have you ever done an escape room?
Yes.
To me, this feels.
We did one for your bachelor.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, my bachelor party.
This definitely feels like an escape room.
This game is just asking you to constantly poke and prod it, to keep finding things. You get an item, reread letters, look at this, look at that, and like you zoom in, and it gave me the solution to how to solve the board game puzzle.
So it was like another interesting one is you can kind of figure out there's at least 2 different places it gives you the computer password.
Yep.
Like one of them was very obvious. You just need a tool to do it. And then another one gives you a very obvious hint that you can put together. But I didn't really pick up on it until after I knew what the password was. And I went, oh, that's kind of neat. I never found the solution to the math puzzle, like you were saying, but I kind of just backed my way into it. Like the very first time I did it, I was like, well, there's only 20 numbers on this board. I'm just going to go around and start picking each number until it goes forward.
I did it a couple times.
Once I got the right answer, then I was like, okay, how did I get to this answer? So I basically like made myself a little algebra problem of like,
nerd.
Okay, this was the number I started at. This is where it ends. How do I get there?
So in that instance, Andrew, the scenario where you've got the magnifying glass, it gives you the explanation basically to that puzzle. That is probably a perfect time for you to have a pen and paper, right? Because you may not have that.
I screenshotted a lot in this game.
Yeah, so, I have a lot of screenshots, and I have 2 pages of notes going right now.
Goodness gracious.
Well, but that's also like, it's not 2 full pages. So it's like I was like halfway through one page, but then I was like, this next piece of puzzle is going to take its own sheet of paper, I think. So I'm just going to go ahead and start a whole sheet of paper just for this puzzle alone.
All right. Can I ask another question about a puzzle?
No.
That I have no clue what the heck this was.
Yeah, go ahead.
The observatory.
Yep.
I go not to the observatory.
Oh, actually, yep. What about it?
So this is what I can't figure out. Okay, so I do the whole things so that the telescope is pointing out into the sky. I'm looking at a book, and it's kind of like telling me different values for these constellations. Again, big frustration for me. Okay, what does that mean? So I look through the thing, and I get a single star. Boom, now I have a single star. I'm like, oh, okay, what does the star go to? I have not seen anything that needed this. And then I'm like, all right, can I move this around? Can I see other things in here? But no, it looks like I just got the one. So is the book just telling what the values are, but those are random? Those are RNG? Is that what was happening there?
No. So I'll give a hint. I'm assuming you didn't find it, but there is a little puzzle in there that gives you a secret room. I'm assuming you didn't get that.
No. Wait, you think I got the secret room?
Yes, inside the observatory. You unlock the planetarium.
Oh, I haven't done that.
Yes.
So that is a puzzle. I am looking at a puzzle.
Yes and no.
Realize I am.
Okay, no, because I'm assuming you kind of figured out, hey, there's a catwalk kind of above there. Why is there a catwalk? Well, that's
Because
kind of
I
how
had
you
to
can
use it
figure
to
out.
adjust where the
It was just to adjust the
telescope is pointing.
telescope.
At least that's what I thought, but apparently not. Is what you're.
You guys
telling
just want me to
so-
tell you? I don't know. This is just
This
Well,
is-
no.
see,
and
this
then-
is
now
my-
I'm gonna go
Okay,
back and
well,
figure it
okay,
out. I don't want to
okay.
know.
If you don't want spoilers, skip like 15 seconds.
I'll
So hold on.
no. Don't say it here because
Okay.
I don't want the spoiler.
Oh,
All
okay,
right,
okay.
hold on.
Fine.
All right, I'm not even going to ask about that specifically.
Okay,
Andrew,
but
did you
stars.
naturally figure that out?
No. Okay, because I had the same question.
Stupid game.
The stars is the meta progression. Anytime you unlock the observatory, it says you gain a star. And anytime you gain a star, the constellation fills up more and more. So yes, that first star you got, what was it? Just like you get a key? No, it wasn't even that. Okay, I
No,
don't
you
know.
got it. Showed me a star up in my inventory.
Yeah, exactly.
I
And
don't
then when you
remember
look
getting
through the
anything else.
telescope, when you look at the telescope, it shows the constellation.
Yes.
Yeah, and you don't have
And-
to solve anything. You just hit A, and
Yes.
it gives you the thing.
And
based
it's a
around it.
buff. It's a buff it gives you. So depending how many stars you have, so you have 1 star. If you get the other observatory again, you'll get 2 stars now, 3 stars, and so on and so forth. I'm up to like 34 stars. And so it gives me a whole bunch of buffs. Apples taste better today. You get 3 keys, 2 gems, and can walk 10 more steps. That's all it is.
Okay. Again, I would like to rescind my earlier complaint that there was no meta progression. There clearly is. I just have no clue what's happening. It doesn't tell you anything that's happening in this game. And
Like an
that just
escape room.
Hold on. But that confirms my issue, Andrew, is you had to go online to find out how to find these things or what these
No,
things were
I
doing.
did not.
That-
I did not. The only thing I looked up was after I beat the game. I never looked up anything until I beat the game. After I beat the game, I looked up the story because I wanted to understand more of the side story that's going on. And I looked up more of the symbols on the dartboard game. And that was it. That's all I ever looked up in this game.
So you found that secret room in there
Yes.
on your own.
Yes.
All right.
So,
still got- I
here's
got
the thing.
issues here.
and Here's where I'm kind of on Andrew's side on this is that going into a game like this, I'm looking in every single nook and cranny. And
Yeah, that was
corner
my
and
issue at
things.
first.
And well, but and I'm not even saying it's an issue. I'm saying of like why Andrew is like solving some of these puzzles per se without looking them up, I guess. So I still haven't looked anything up myself. I'm really, really trying hard to avoid looking up anything
Just look it up,
to
Keith.
solve a puzzle. Nope, I refuse to. But I will say the more we talk about this, I want Aaron to play Tunics so badly.
Yeah.
I think it would
'Cause
be
that's
so
an
funny
action
to
game.
watch. That one it's like a Zelda play, like gameplay style, but all of the feels of Tunic. There is just everywhere you walk, there's like another puzzle. It's a little Metroidvania, very puzzle or very, very, very no hints given.
And
lot of writing.
I'll kind of like I'm leaning a little bit. Keith kind of pointed to this at the beginning. Anders just kind of mentioned it now. When I first got into this game, I was checking every single corner, thinking that it all leads to some other puzzle. I started to notice in rooms, I guess you don't really notice it, but like the pictures on the walls seemed odd.
Mm,
That's a whole
And
puzzle in itself.
that
I'm
is a whole
pretty
puzzle.
sure.
Oh, so you saw that, Keith? Okay.
Well, so one thing
But
I did
Aaron, it's
see-
not
one thing I-
necessary. It's not
one thing I-
necessary.
but
So I did
It's-
look one thing up on Reddit that I was trying to figure out as far as like when you pick a room, how it orders it. It didn't even give me the answer, but someone was like, "Oh, here's like 10 tips for playing this." But people were talking about the puzzle, the picture puzzle, and so I know it's a puzzle. But I also kind
Wow.
of figured it was. They give you enough hints that it is. I just don't know how to make it a puzzle because you can't interact with them. So I don't.
You
know what I
figure it
do
out in the
with
study. I'll say that.
Okay.
that's so the other thing is it's like there's very few things you interact with. Going back to 2 Crowns from a few weeks ago, it's really obvious when you walk into a room, there's either something there for you or there isn't. It takes you a minute to get there because at first you're trying to interact with everything. You kind of assume the game's tricking you and there's things you got to be grabbing in this room or you're missing it. And you realize pretty quickly that no, there's just a few things you're looking for and there's a few puzzles. But there's always this nagging, there's other things,
Yeah.
but I don't know where they go. Kind of like Keith said at the beginning, I don't I don't know what to do with these pictures. I don't know when these pictures will ever be relevant. Should I be screenshotting them now? Should I be writing them down? Where is that interact? That I don't need the game to be handholdy, but it should try and direct you in a path. I don't just love a game just dropping you into a place and just saying, well, see you later.
But see, here's the funny thing, and like, so we're gonna circle back to this for a second, where you were talking about how, like, you just want to have, or like it's like trying to trick you, and it's funny because there's one puzzle in particular that references a book, and it references herring, and I thought that was just kind of a funny, like,
Oh yeah,
the whole
red
concept
herring.
is your
Yeah.
great uncle he's like a game master, and this is all just, I mean, it is a game, obviously we're playing a game, but it's like inside of the game, like he's creating this weird game. Like you have people writing letters about coming to the estate, and oh, I just, I thought you had retired this room from there, like this puzzle, that puzzle. This guy, yeah, he is trying to mess with you. The whole thing is trying to mess with you.
Yeah.
And not even just from you, the outside user. Like it is intentionally inside of the game. He is trying to mess with your character along with it.
See, and this is why I really loved this game. Like I said, take my advice of just keep poking at this game, because I was in the same boat where I was getting frustrated. Where I'm like, I feel like I'm not progressing. I'm not doing anything. And like I said, draft rooms you've never been into, because you will get notes that say, hey, maybe you should do this. You understand the significance of red notes and blue notes. You know, why are they color coordinated? There's a reason behind it. So this is what I loved about this game, is just anytime I kept picking a new room, don't know what it is. It's going to end my run, but I haven't been there, so I'm going to do it. It just kept adding more knowledge to me. Like I said, it isn't hard to get to room 46 if you just, that is your goal. So Aaron, yeah, writing stuff down, like I said, isn't necessary. There are other puzzles. Like there's 8 red letters to collect. I've only collected 2. Where are they? I don't know, but I'm going to keep poking and try to find them. There's to find, I think 5 or 6 sigils. Where are they? I found
I haven't seen one
or 2 of them. I don't know if they've counted. I think I haven't quite solved them yet, but this is what I mean. There's multiple layers of puzzles that you don't have to solve. They're very difficult. You don't have to do it. Your goal is just to get to room 46.
So here's a question then. I don't know. The chapel. Is there a puzzle in there? Because
there's a solution in there.
Okay.
What?
I figured there was something, because and I happened to notice it as I was just sitting in there, and I was looking around trying to figure some, like, just anything. I'm just like looking, and all of a sudden I noticed the numbers underneath the portraits and how they didn't go in order around the room. I was like, that's a thing. I don't know what it is. I have a page of probably 20 different keys written down on my notes. I just don't know where the locks are for these keys.
Yeah, and that'll happen.
Issue. And
is it really obvious though? Like if I see those numbers, I see the portraits. I'm assuming I need to actually know the portraits. Will I get to a point where I'm like, this is 100% connected to the chapel? Because I thought the same thing. When I went to the chapel, I assumed something was going on in there. It seems like an elaborate room for nothing to be in there. Yeah. But
as soon as I saw the lock, I went, oh, I know where the solution is. And I got that room, so I ran to it in my house, and I was able to do it. So yes, it was very obvious.
Did the numbers change?
No.
Okay.
Because I like jotted down a like layout of the room and like where the numbers were around the room, figuring that had something to do with it. Another one, like the periodic table of elements was another kind of cool puzzle. Still don't know where I fully use. Well, I do. You use it in the room you find it.
Yep.
But I haven't got the other room that I need
to get it. Yeah.
To power that room.
I just did that like an hour ago.
And it's so like, it's what I'm loving and hating about this is, like, I can feel myself getting all excited talking about, like, oh, I found this puzzle, I found that puzzle, I did this, I did that. But at the same time, I'm like so angry when, like I said, I get that room and I'm on the 3rd floor, and all of a sudden I'm getting key card locks. And I'm like, I didn't even have time to get a lock for this. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Well, you know how to turn you know how to turn key card locks off, right?
Yes, but you
that's in the breaker room.
The breaker,
in the security room.
And security room, yeah. But again, in the 3rd room, by the 3rd floor, I didn't have any of that. What, are you looking at my screenshots?
Yeah, I was gonna because you were talking
I
about your
just-
frustration. So I was
I was-
because I remember you posted this in our Discord. And you're like, I hate when these rooms close off.
Yep. Yeah, this was the this wasn't I don't think this was the screenshot that had happened that I keep referencing, but this might have just been a random screenshot. Most of them are just like every time I picked up something that I could read, it's like screenshot that.
No, you literally wrote the rooms with 3 doors conveniently all rotating to where I have no exit. It's starting to piss me off.
Yep.
Same.
All
Well,
right.
so a really stupid thing actually, and this is actually partially a question because it took me a while to figure this out, was how it sets the rotation of the room.
It's how
So
you enter him.
Exactly. So it sets it as though it's upright, but from where you enter. But you can't really control anything about that. So my question leading to that then,
There are some rooms you can.
well, yes, I know that the rotunda you can return, but is your better strategy always trying to go up on the doors because of that, and then you're kind of getting the proper rotation of it? Like, do you know what I'm asking?
I generally found so the run I won. My goal was generally once I kind of knew I just need to get to the antechamber. I figured out kind of a bit more how I could probably get to room 46. I just went straight because if I got a dead end, I still had other paths to kind of go back a little bit and backtrack. But that always, I noticed that if you're trying to fill out the entire house, you're more than likely going to either run out of gems or run out of keys. And so because of that, I'm like, all right, so I really just need to make sure I'm just getting a path properly to the antechamber because I know how to open it now. I know how to probably finish this game. So that was just my issue. Like, don't try to fill out the house because, yeah, resources are very limited unless you're drafting really good stuff. But anyway, I feel like we need to pick this up a little bit.
I was just looking at We're over an hour.
Yeah.
And we're still more or less on gameplay.
But yeah, for graphics though, I love this game's art style. It's very beautiful. Anytime Liz got into the room, she always pointed out that this game is gorgeous looking. And I do like it. Every room has a very nice, distinct personality to it. The graphics, the game itself in general is just a vibe. And it just is well accentuated with the graphics. From the outside environment, from all the rooms inside, I really love this game's art style.
Yeah, I think overall, I mean, there's nothing wowing about it overall, but it's cell shaded, I guess, kind of.
Yeah, I would say it's cell shaded. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I can see like someone commented it looked kind of like Borderlands.
It's not pixel, Aaron.
As far as yeah, there's true, no pixelated, but yeah, it's got that kind of vibe. But there's just, I don't know, it's just like it's the aura of the game overall. It's the like Aaron brought up the music, and while to me this is nothing of South of Midnight, the music is perfect for this game, and I think that's what makes it great. Is it's just so perfectly fitting. It's kind of quiet. It's unassuming in the background, but it just fits. And there's something about it that I really appreciate.
Yeah, graphically, the game is a cool looking game. Like Andrew said, I'm just glad that's not pixelated because the pixelated stuff I'm kind of done with. So this game totally has a vibe. Music wise, if you are looking for music that sounds a lot like this, I recommend the band Hammock. Very atmospheric. Again, very heavy on the vibes. But yeah, there are a bunch of songs in there. I was like, man, this, if you were to tell me Hammock wrote music for this game, I'd totally believe it. So yeah, no complaints there at all.
The soundtrack is on Spotify. And yeah, I guess the main artist is Trig and Gousset. They are Dutch dark jazz.
All right. Interesting.
That's apparently what their description says there.
Well,
But no,
I don't think Hammock's from.
Notorious for the musical ingenuity.
Yeah.
Dang.
But no, the soundtrack's very good. It's a really chill soundtrack. I really like the game soundtrack. But once again, you don't need it. There's only a handful of cutscenes, which I found to be more cryptic than answering stuff. But it's very obvious when a cutscene's happening. If you're listening to a podcast or anything, you obviously can do that with this game. Maybe not for the cutscenes, but
There is something about the music. I was actually listening to music while I was playing, and I don't know if it would fit for all of it, but they're like it actually like is a the type of music that is in the game. It can actually sometimes sit over other music and work with it, if that makes sense. Like I was like, oh, like I could hear it faintly in the back. And it's like,
Oh,
oh, it's kind of cool. I don't, that's not an intentional thing. It was just, it was kind of a neat little, like I was listening to it and I could still hear the game music. And I was like, it didn't feel off. Like sometimes if you can hear game music and real and something not related to it, you can tell they're different. It just sort of blended right into it in the back because it's just so quiet and like unassuming, as I said earlier.
but then as far as achievements goes, this is its biggest crime. The achievements in this game suck. I do
Still
not.
at 0.
I beat the game. I rolled credits and I have 60 gamer score. Like, come
Yes.
on, like that's rough.
I
Do you-
did briefly scroll through it, and I was like, "Oh, this looks." I'm
Yeah.
not getting a single one of these. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, like 2 of them are manageable, but it takes time, and that's beating the parlor game 40 times and beating the dartboard game 40 times.
Goodness.
That is a
Yeah, I think I'm,
long
like, halfway
time.
through right now.
Yeah, I'm at like 28, I think, with the dartboard, and then like 20 with the parlor, and it's just like And then beat the game in one day, beating it in dare mode. Oh, there's a bunch of them. Like not a bunch, there's
What
like
day
16.
are you on right now?
34, 35. I beat the game
so
at
you're
day I think 24. And I beat it at like I think 12 hours of gameplay. Oh, which I
Yeah,
forgot
see,
to
I have
mention.
no idea what my gameplay really is. It says it's 75 hours.
If you go to the
but I-
library, the upper area actually has your stats. It has gameplay time, and it tells you how many times you beat the parlor games in the dartboard
yeah,
game.
yeah. No, I'm just
Okay.
saying in terms of like my actual gameplay, it says I've played for 75 hours, but like I was like playing this and I paused it, walked away to make dinner, and then completely forgot and never came back to my Xbox. So it's like 12 hours later.
Yeah. But yeah, for time to beat, you're looking for main story about 15 hours. For completionists, it's listed at 52 hours. Because like I said, there's a ton of puzzles that you just keep kind of finding. But
No, thank
anyway,
you.
yeah, let's get our final thoughts here because we've been running this a bit long. For me, as I said, Blueprints, this is a fantastic puzzle game. Aaron's obviously going to argue with me. I think you don't need to be a crazy smart person, like obsessed with puzzles, to beat this game. If you want to just roll credits, it's a very manageable task. You just, like I said, your goal is to get to room 46. You know, take some of my tips with you, and you shouldn't have much of an issue. But if you are a heavy, hardcore puzzle person and wants a severe challenge, this game is also for you because there are a ton of puzzles in this game that aren't mandatory, but obviously will have achievements, give you more of the story, and figure stuff out. So for me, this was a much more accessible puzzle game to just about everyone, except for Aaron, obviously, here as he's shaking his head. I thought Blueprints was very clever. It was very interesting. I love the music, the vibe, the art style. This was a good, fun, relaxing game. Oh, the only thing that kind of sucks, not great on xCloud. You can't save mid-run. You have to end your day in order to save. So there was a couple times I was doing really well, stopped, game got shut off, lost the day. That kind of sucks. So if you're, playing xCloud and you might have to quit right away, you might want to be careful. But yeah, for me, I'm giving this a 90. I really enjoyed Blueprints.
I don't know why, but it's crazy to me that you're giving this a higher score than South of Midnight. And not even because there's anything wrong with Blueprints, but just because, dang, South of Midnight was so good. I can't get over your score on that.
He didn't get the music.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
that's true.
God.
He's still so wrong about that. I forgot.
Oh,
if
I know.
if he understood anything about that, he would be fine. But as far as Blueprints goes, it's weird because I really do like it. So it's gonna weird when I say this that I want to love it so badly because conceptually it's everything I would want. It's logic puzzles. It's a roguelike. It's just dive in and go. It's all that, and I really really enjoy it. I'm just struggling with my own dumb brain. So it's where I'm like getting frustrated with it, but I would still have to say it's easily an 88. And I'm still only on a game, but I'm somewhere in the middle between definite game and game, if that makes sense.
I'm telling you, if you keep poking at it, Keith, I think you'll like it.
I probably will. By the time I probably actually end up beating this, and what's crazy is there are definitely games where I'm like, maybe I just didn't put enough time in this game. I have put my time into this game. It's just purely I haven't broken through it, and I think you're 100% right that when I break through, it's just going to start to feel so right. But right now, I'm at a point I'm getting a little frustrated, but I'm not trying to take it away from the game. I'm still giving it an 88.
See, and that's my difference with like South of Midnight. I rolled credits and I'm like, I'm kind of good with that game. With this, I rolled credits and I'm like, I want to keep going, and I'm still playing it. This thing will probably be on my Xbox for about another month. I'll just keep poking at it. But anyway, go ahead, Aaron.
All right. The definition of accessible, since Andrew doesn't seem to know it, I'll help him out. Capable of being within reach, easy to speak or to deal with. This game would not be the definition of accessible as Andrew just described, because it is not any of those things.
If you had to Google that.
Well, you just keep calling it accessible, and I'm like, you're flippantly throwing that out there, and it's just factually not true, because this game doesn't hold your hand at all. It would not be accessible. It's like going for a nice run up a hill and saying this is accessible to somebody in a wheelchair. No, it's not. It's not. Yeah, I can call it accessible for you, but it's not accessible because it is not.
Sorry, it's not accessible to big old babies.
Thank you. So this game is just, I hate to do this. I hate this. I hate saying
I hate
this
it, but I'm going to
game.
do it.
Well,
I mean,
because
you can
I'm
always
the
steal
big
mine.
chub.
You can just give it the classic 69 because it's
So-
nice.
this is the perfect, like, I don't like saying, well, this game just isn't for me. But if there is a game that fits that definition, it's this one, because I understand why people like it. And when I hear this stuff, I'm like, man, I wish I had the experience Andrew had with this. Like, I wish this game clicked with me, because that mystery is cool. Like, that is fun. And I'm into that. But to get to that point, to figure out what the heck is happening and what's actually working and what one thing does to another thing, it's so opaque as you're playing it that I'm never going to get to that point. I'm never going to. It's just not a game for me. And I think most gamers will be on Andrew's side on this. And I get it. I'm jealous of that. I wish that I could get there. But it's not accessible to everyone. It is to a certain group of people. For that, because the music's awesome, I actually like the idea of this game. I like the music. The music's pretty good in this. And I'm even intrigued by the mystery. I still have to give it like a 71, but that's about as high as I could go on this thing.
Damn.
All right.
I'm just glad I finally feel heard with it's a great game. It's just not for me. And
I hate it. Because obviously anybody can say that.
You hate it, because I
Yeah.
hate saying it, but it's like there are so many games that there's no way to describe it. Like, I'm just like, I can understand why people love this game. I just cannot do it. I mean,
That's me right now with this game.
I
want to love this
At
game.
least for the purposes of the podcast, I will say, Andrew, what's your game you love there that you're never going to get your achievements for now?
Tectonica?
Tectonica.
Don't get me started on
that'll never
Tectonica.
fall- Like, I can see why Andrew loves that. Not as this isn't
Not
fully
really.
a great game, just not for me. I can get I do, because I get Andrew and I get why Andrew loves it. But holy crap, I don't get that game. Anyways,
Man, I just downloaded Factorio and I'm like, this game's good, but it's no Tectonica.
gosh, of course you are. Andrew
All right.
Delatro right there.
Oh man. I
At least I got
apparently like,
achievement score.
because I love management stuff, and it's like apparently factory management is like crack cocaine to me. I'll take all of it. Soon Satisfactory will be hitting Xbox, and I'll be probably buying that.
Pass.
I do like, as a side note though, I do like the little racing stripe that your headset creates on your hairline, Aaron. That's kind of neat. When you move
What's it
there,
doing?
when you move your headset, it like created a little racing stripe across your head.
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
Let's
Let's see if I can get like a. All right, that kind of worked a little bit.
Love it.
All right, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, which Aaron's probably going to reprimand me now.
So much.
Please make sure you follow us on our YouTube or join our Discord. Go to our link tree. I'll have it in our show notes. Come see us on our live recordings every Wednesday. Like I said, if you're watching this and if you're listening to us on Spotify, you can also be watching us on Spotify. Thank you all the people who join us for our live recordings, and thank you for all the people who write comments and leave us reviews. We always love hearing from you all. I've been your hardcore gamer host, Andrew. You can find me on Xbox Live at Firebird01952. And please make sure you start giving us some recommendations. Game Pass has been cooking like crazy, and there's been really good games, and we keep trying to figure out what we want to play next. If you have any suggestions, please make sure you tell us, because we're having a hard time deciding.
It's like a really good problem to have. There are
Yes.
too many games on Game Pass that are worth playing right now. So
It's like being a
if
fat
you
cat
want
at a
us to zero
buffet.
in, you got to let us know.
But anyway, I guess you guys don't want to say anything.
Nope.
So
Cue the music.
All I was
Fire it
going to
up.
say was just in good health. And
Nope.
Goodbye.
That's
Shut up, Keith. Fire it up.
that was good advice, Keith.
No, it was not. That was dumb.
Always in good health.
That's dumb.
Okay. Anyway, we love you all. We'll see you again next week.